I would like to sit here and talk for an hour about Judas, Brutus, and Schloss.
Welcome in, everyone. TexAgs Rewind presented by Specs. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Today on the program, you know what we're talking about. We had Billy on the program, Bronny, David hosted the first half of the show. You'll get a little bit of me in the second half. We had Jason Howell on for Recruiting Country, and we had John Scheschuk. Here it is. Check it out.
What I don't want to do is go crazy and make this, even though to me he has made this intensely personal with so many Aggies, someone's got to sit up here and not just lose their mind. And to whatever degree, that's going to be me. Because, look, A&M baseball is going to go on.
Absolutely.
I'll be more pissed off. I'll actually be, like, I'm disappointed that my image of certain people, and it's not just one, is a lot different today than it was 24 hours ago. And how I view them and my level of respect. And and I understand it is, and I promise I get that it is business. It is business. If Vic Schaefer left Texas today to come to A&M, his alma mater, which, by the way, I don't think he'd do with what he's built at Texas. I don't think if Joni Taylor said, I'm retiring from basketball coaching, I'm going to go and be an AD, which she could be, or probably a great speaker, motivation, whatever. If she said, I'm retiring, I don't know. I don't think you could hire Vic Schaefer away from what he's done. That guy went here. So, but if he did, there is a way to handle it, and that is going to determine how I view you. And so I'm disappointed more than anything else for the kids and their families that have been reaching out to me. It's crazy to me that those same coaches are going in there right now trying to recruit those kids to Austin.
Yeah.
It's wild after what they did that any of those kids would even look at them the same or their families.
Can they?
Well, we talked about this last night on the pod, and this is Trev Albert's first coaching search, and it is very unique because if I had advice to give to an AD that knows a lot more about being an AD than I do, but what I do know is that he has to nail this search. I think people are realizing, and Slosh probably helped with the way he did it, they're not really pointing the finger of blame in the direction of a Trev Alberts, and I don't believe they should. I don't think so. I don't believe he ever had a chance to keep him. I think he left mentally, at least, and probably had conversations with his boy down the road around the time that Ross Bjork left. And by the way, if Ross had stayed, still would have left. I mean, that was 3 years of trying to have a relationship and having none and being very frustrated. And Ross, his inability to bring the stadium stuff and concerns to the board, or essentially, if you ask Jim Schlossnagle, those, and I'll be interested to hear what he says at the presser today, because I believe he'll probably get pretty defensive. Should you go down to Austin, OB, and fire off the first question of that bad boy?
I would have liked to. I don't think I can make it.
At 11. Yeah, I know. We were thinking about it. But, if you go and look, you've got to make that hire and make it a strong one, because I think Slosh, he left when he didn't get his AD.
I started getting texts and calls about former from travel ball coaches whose former players were on the roster at Texas. They were being guaranteed that it was Schloss even back then. Like the players at Texas thought it was going to be Schloss, especially after they fired David Pierce, or after the regional, excuse me. After Texas lost in the regional, we started to hear from multiple Texas players that multiple Texas players were being told, sit tight, Jim Schlossnagle is coming. In fact, one of the text messages I got said, unless he gets hit by a bus, this thing's done. That was in early June. So privately, what we had heard from the man himself was that he was telling people he's not going. He's got no interest in the Texas job. He told a couple of national folks multiple times, my stance has not changed. I'm not taking that job. And then went through hoops and multiple layers of deception and charades to cover himself. But he was lying privately, and everything he said publicly about loving Texas A&M, all this other stuff, to me is total lip service. But for them to be coaching those kids in that game, were you fully committed? Were you? You can sit there and tell me, and none of those coaches would ever deny that they weren't. But now, knowing what we know, were you? Can you honestly say that when you have one foot out the door that you're going to be coaching with everything you've got? Now, I don't think they made any decisions within the game that made me go, what are they doing, kind of thing, or like where they were trying to lose the game. I don't think that's it at all. But you're crazy if you don't think that those kids in that clubhouse and that dugout had some kind of inkling. You're crazy. They absolutely did. They were asking us about it, about us, I mean me and Billy. What do you think he's going to do? Player parents, what do you think that's going to do? Do you think that's conducive to a fully functioning clubhouse at the highest level? And they lost the national championship by 1 run. You're looking for things to blame. How is that not one of them? Yeah, I had a working relationship with him. We texted a lot. We called he asked me to do him favors, whether it be reporting on the team or helping out, reporting information about game times and getting to the ballpark early, all this stuff. He did all of that knowing that he was, I was helping a guy that was conning me. And I had personal relationships with guys on that staff. I really did. A couple of them were at my wedding. And I feel betrayed because I feel like I was looked at my face and lied to. I was talked to over the phone and lied to. There were deceitful charades put up as if nothing was going on behind the scenes. And you don't have to look at me and tell me that you're leaving and you know that you're leaving and going to Texas. But I also don't play me for a fool. Don't build up all this other stuff and come up with these grand stories of what you've got planned for the future when you know it's all a lie. And the layers that were gone to try to throw people off the scent, at the end, we were going, okay, this is all too much. Like it just kept doubling, tripling down. It was all too much. So, yeah, I'm disappointed. I really am. It's hard for me not to sit up here today in front of this microphone and be extremely disappointed in people that I thought were stand-up human beings.
Well, since Mike Elko arrived in College Station, him and his staff, they made it real clear they were going to recruit the state of Texas, and they were going to try and secure the top talents in Texas they could. And but that also doesn't mean you ignore relationships and prospects that are out there beyond the borders. And I think they've done a phenomenal job of mixing the two, making the state a priority, and just putting together a really solid class. I love what they've done. Hassan Longstreet at quarterback, one of the nation's best from California. They've really done a good job in the state of California with him and Adonis Curry, and they're in the mix for, we've talked about McHale, but they got a couple other guys out there as well that are from the state that, could also make it into the class. So and they've done really well in Arizona, and they've hit key areas of the country. But hitting in the programs like DeSoto with DeAndre Ryden and digging down into Houston, making DFW and Houston areas both priorities. They've done a phenomenal job and been organized and have an idea what they're looking for, and that's really the key.
In a second, let's talk a little bit. I hate for it to take away from the players, and we heard Billy and Bronny and Richard talk about it, but just let's kind of talk about what we saw in that Men's College World Series final first, and then we'll circle back to all this. So game one, obviously the Aggies played very well, took the win. Offense looked great. Just what were your thoughts from that first game, performances that stood out to you, and who shined?
Yeah, well, of course, Gavin leading off the game the way he did was awesome. And really the entire team the whole weekend played their hearts out, and that's been the common theme. But when I look at not only game one, but game two and game three, just the consistency and the professionalism of all those kids. I think about Jackson Appel. I think about Schott. I think about Kent. I think about, really everybody that ran out there. Sorrell, all of them just played unbelievable. They were clutch. They kept their cool. And now knowing what they undoubtedly knew,
Yes. Yeah.
it's more shocking to me than maybe anything I've seen in covering this team. And I've been around this team for 30 years.
Everyone like, comment, subscribe. Keep it tuned to TexAgs.com, TexAgs YouTube for the coaching search and all the fun stuff that comes with it. Thanks.